She asked the slave to keep her warm during the snowstorm. The servants counted the hours. A world of sprawling plantations under endless southern skies, where secrets whisper through the cotton fields and forbidden hearts beat in the shadows. In the bitter winter of 1845, a fierce snowstorm traps a lonely mistress in her grand manor, her husband away on distant business. Desperate for warmth, she turns to the one soul who sees her true pain, a young slave named Elijah, strong and kind, bound by chains but free in spirit. What starts as a simple plea for survival ignites a flame that could burn down their world. Twists of fate, hidden betrayals, and a love that defies everything await. Dive into this tale of passion and peril. The year was 1845, deep in the heart of Georgia, on the vast Hawthorne plantation. Snow was rare in these parts, but when it came, it blanketed the land like a cold, unforgiving shroud. The big house stood tall, its white columns gleaming under the gray sky, while the slave quarters huddled in the distance, smoke curling from chimneys built of mud and hope. Elijah was 22, a young black man with broad shoulders from years of toil in the fields. His skin was the color of rich earth, his eyes deep and thoughtful, holding stories he'd never tell. Born on the plantation, he knew every inch of the land, every whip's sting, but his spirit remained unbroken. He worked the stables, tending horses with a gentle hand that spoke of quiet strength. Then there was Amelia Hawthorne, the master's wife. At 28, she was a vision of southern grace, fair skin, auburn hair pinned in elegant curls, and green eyes that hid a well of loneliness. Married young to the stern plantation owner, Samuel Hawthorne, she lived in luxury, but felt like a bird in a gilded cage. Samuel was often gone, chasing deals in far-off cities, leaving her to wander the empty halls. The servants whispered about her sadness, how she stared out windows for hours. Elijah had seen it too, from afar, when he brought firewood or fixed a fence near the house. Little did he know, the coming storm would draw them together in ways neither could imagine. As flakes began to fall, thicker and faster, the world outside turned white, sealing fates inside. If you're enjoying this story so far, hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. The storm had turned ferocious by nightfall, wind screaming like lost souls around the Hawthorne manor. Inside, the fires crackled low, but the cold still crept in, making every breath a puff of mist. Amelia sat alone in her bedroom, wrapped in blankets that did little to chase away the chill. The house servants had retired to their quarters, but they kept one eye on the clock, murmuring about the mistress and that stable hand Elijah. Hours ticked by, 8, 9, 10, as the snow buried the world outside. Elijah had been called back one last time to build up the hearth in her room. He knelt by the fireplace, poking the embers until flames danced high. Amelia watched him from her chair, her heart pounding louder than the gusts. "Elijah," she whispered, her voice barely above the crackle. "The cold. It's unbearable. Even with the fire, I can't stop shaking." He stood slowly, wiping his hands on his worn pants. "Ma'am, I can fetch more wood, or another blanket from the linen closet." She shook her head, her green eyes locking onto his. "No, that's not enough. I need warmth, real warmth." The words hung heavy, charged with something unspoken. She rose, stepping closer, her hand trembling as she reached for his arm. "Stay with me, just for tonight. Keep me warm." Elijah froze, his mind racing. He knew the danger, the lash, the noose, the unbreakable lines between them. But in her eyes, he saw not just a mistress, but a woman aching for connection, mirroring his own hidden longings. The storm outside seemed to echo the one building within him. "Ma'am." "Amelia," he said softly, using her name for the first time. "This could end us both." She pulled him gently toward the bed, the room lit only by firelight. "The world is frozen out there. In here, we can pretend it's different." Their hands met, fingers intertwining, and in that touch, years of silence shattered. He held her close, his strong arms wrapping around her fragile form. Warmth spread between them, not just from bodies, but from hearts opening like forbidden flowers. Whispers turned to kisses, tentative at first, then urgent, as the barriers of their worlds crumbled in the heat of the moment. But as they lay tangled in the sheets, a distant sound pierced the night, a pounding at the front door, muffled by the wind but insistent. Elijah bolted up, his face paling. "What is that?" Amelia clutched the blanket, fear replacing the glow in her eyes. "It can't be. Samuel? He's not due back for days." The knocking grew louder, and voices shouted from below. The servants stirred, lanterns flickering as they rushed to answer. Elijah scrambled for his clothes, heart thundering. "I have to go." Through the back. "No, wait," she pleaded, but he was already at the window, glancing back with eyes full of regret and fire. Downstairs, the door creaked open, letting in a swirl of snow. It wasn't Samuel. It was the overseer, Mr. Graves, his face grim under a snow-dusted hat. "Mistress Hawthorne. Riders from town, there's trouble. Runaways spotted near the river, and with this storm, the master's telegram says to lock everything down. Armed patrols are coming." Amelia, hastily dressed, appeared at the top of the stairs, her composure cracking. But her mind whirled. Runaways? Elijah's stories of stars guiding souls. Had he been planning something? Or was this fate's cruel twist? As Graves barked orders, Elijah slipped out into the blizzard, his footprints vanishing in the drifts. But unknown to all, one servant, old Martha, had seen him leave the mistress's room. Her eyes narrowed, counting the hours until dawn, when secrets might spill like blood on snow. The night exploded into chaos. Patrols arrived, lanterns cutting through the whiteout, dogs baying. Amelia's secret burned inside her, but a deeper shock hit when Graves handed her a crumpled note found in the stables. Elijah's handwriting, mapping a path north under the stars. Betrayal? Or a desperate bid for freedom that her love had ignited? In the frenzy, Elijah was cornered in the barn, rifles pointed. "I wasn't running tonight," he growled, but they didn't listen. Amelia rushed out, screaming against the wind. "Stop. He's innocent." But as shackles clamped on his wrists, she realized the true twist. Samuel's early return wasn't the danger. It was the child she now suspected she carried, a bridge between worlds that could destroy them all. The first light of dawn pierced the thinning clouds, turning the snow-covered plantation into a glittering but harsh landscape. Elijah stood in the barn, hands raised, surrounded by the overseer Graves and a handful of armed men from town. Their lanterns cast long shadows, and the dogs growled low, chains rattling like accusations. The note they'd found in the stables, Elijah's rough sketch of a northern path, stars marked as guides, lay crumpled in Graves' fist. "Planning to run, boy? In this storm? With the mistress's favor?" Graves sneered, his breath fogging the air. Elijah's eyes flicked to Amelia, who had burst from the house in her nightdress and shawl, her auburn hair wild from the wind. "It ain't what you think," Elijah said steadily, his voice cutting through the tension. "That map was old dreams, not tonight's doing." But the men didn't care for words. They saw a slave with secrets, and that was enough. Amelia pushed forward, her face pale but determined. "Let him go. He's done nothing wrong. The storm trapped us all. He's the one who kept the fires going, kept me safe." Her voice cracked on the last word, and the men exchanged glances. Old Martha, the head servant, lingered in the background, her knowing eyes fixed on Amelia. She'd seen Elijah slip from the bedroom window, heard the soft murmurs earlier. But for now, she held her tongue, the hours she'd counted weighing heavy on her soul. Graves hesitated, rifle lowering a fraction. "Mistress, this is plantation business. Master Hawthorne's orders were clear, locked down for runaways. And this one's got proof against him." He waved the note. But Amelia stepped between them, her green eyes flashing. "Samuel isn't here. I am. and I say release him. Blame the storm for any foolishness." The patrols grumbled, but her status as the master's wife carried weight. They backed off, shackles unused, though they posted a guard at the barn. Elijah was confined there, under watch, while the men scoured the grounds for any signs of actual escapees. The river nearby had indeed seen shadows in the night, 2 other slaves from a neighboring farm, braving the snow for freedom. Elijah's map. Just coincidence, or so Amelia claimed. As the day wore on, the snow began to melt in patches, dripping from eaves like tears. Amelia slipped into the barn when the guard dozed, bringing food and a blanket. "Elijah," she whispered, kneeling beside him in the hay. "Why the map? Were you going to leave? Without me?" He took her hand, his touch warm despite the chill. "It was for others, Amelia." Whispers in the quarters about a way out. "But last night, you changed everything." His eyes searched hers. "I couldn't leave now. Not after what we shared." She leaned in, their foreheads touching. "I feel it too. Something growing inside, maybe more than warmth from the fire." Her hand pressed to her belly, the suspicion from the night before, now a quiet certainty. But joy mixed with terror. "If Samuel finds out." "He won't," Elijah promised, though doubt shadowed his face. But the servants talked. "Martha saw me leave your room." Amelia's heart sank. Indeed, by afternoon, whispers spread like wildfire through the quarters. Servants counted not just hours, but secrets now. Martha confronted her in the kitchen, voice low. "Mistress, I ain't blind. That boy's been more than a helper. What if the master returns?" Amelia straightened, feigning strength. "You say nothing, Martha. For all our sakes." But Martha's loyalty was to the house, not forbidden loves. She nodded, but her eyes held a warning. Meanwhile, a rider arrived with news. Samuel's return delayed by washed-out roads, but he'd sent word. Tighten security, trust no one. Graves doubled the watches, eyeing Elijah with suspicion. As evening fell, Amelia plotted in secret, gathering coins and a cloak. If they couldn't stay, perhaps they could flee together. But a shocking discovery awaited. In Samuel's study, hidden letters revealed his own secrets. A mistress in Charleston, a child born in shadows. Amelia's world tilted again. Was her marriage a lie? Could this free her or doom them all? Tension simmered as night descended, the falling action of the storm giving way to human tempests. Elijah, still guarded, dreamed of stars, while Amelia weighed betrayal against love. The servants counted hours until Samuel's return. As the sun climbed higher, melting the snow into muddy streams across the plantation, Amelia's mind raced with the weight of her discoveries. In Samuel's study, those hidden letters painted a picture of a man who'd built his life on lies, a secret family in Charleston, funds siphoned away for them, leaving the plantation teetering on ruin. Her marriage, once a cage of duty, now felt like chains she could finally break. But with Elijah still under guard in the barn, and whispers spreading like vines through the servants' quarters, time was slipping away. That afternoon, Amelia confronted Martha in the pantry, away from prying ears. "You know what happened," Amelia said softly, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her. "But you also know Samuel's truths. Those letters, they change everything." Martha's wrinkled face softened, her hands pausing over a basket of bread. She'd served the Hawthornes for decades, seen babies born and buried, masters come and go. "Child, I seen plenty. Your husband's no saint, and that boy Elijah's got a good heart. But running ain't easy. The world's cruel to folks like you too." Amelia's eyes filled with tears. "Help us, Martha. Please. For the life growing inside me, Elijah's child." Martha sighed, glancing out the window where Graves paced the yard. "All right. But we do it smart. Tonight, when the moon's high." The plan unfolded in hushed tones. Martha rallied a few trusted servants, ones who dreamed of freedom themselves. They gathered supplies, food, a map, not Elijah's old one, but a fresh sketch from tales passed down, and a horse from the stables. As dusk fell, Amelia slipped into the barn again, this time with a key she'd swiped from Graves' belt while he napped after lunch. "Elijah," she whispered, unlocking the makeshift chains. "We're leaving. Together." His eyes widened, hope flickering like the lantern light. "With the patrols still out? And you, carrying our little one?" She nodded, placing his hand on her belly. "Samuel's secrets give us leverage. If he chases, we'll expose him. But Martha's helping, others too." They embraced quickly, the warmth from that stormy night reigniting. Under cover of darkness, they met Martha at the edge of the woods. She handed them cloaks and a small pouch of coins. "Head north, follow the river till you hit the underground paths. Folks there'll guide you." Elijah clasped her hand. "Thank you, Mama Martha, for seeing us as people, not property." She smiled faintly. "Go on now. I'll cover, say you stole away in the night. The servants'll back me." They vanished into the trees, the melting snow muffling their steps. Days blurred into a desperate journey, hiding in barns, guided by kind strangers on the Underground Railroad, hearts bound by love and the promise of a new life. Amelia's belly grew, a symbol of their defiance. Back at Hawthorne, Samuel returned a week later to chaos. Graves reported the escape, but Martha's story held. A runaway slave, the mistress kidnapped or fled in madness. Samuel raged, but his own scandals loomed, letters gone, whispers of his Charleston life spreading. The plantation faltered, sold off in pieces, his empire crumbling. Years later, in a free northern town, Elijah and Amelia built a quiet life. He worked as a blacksmith, she as a seamstress, their son playing in the yard under open skies. They never forgot the storm that brought them together, or the servants who counted hours to set them free. Love had won, twisting fate into something beautiful. And so, the storm that had once threatened to bury them became the spark that set them free. Elijah and Amelia settled in a cozy town up north, where the air was crisp and no chains bound anyone's dreams. Their son, named after the stars that guided them, Orion, grew strong and curious, with his father's kind eyes and his mother's gentle smile. Elijah hammered iron in his shop, forging tools for folks building new lives, while Amelia sewed dresses that told stories of hope in every stitch. They often sat by the fire on winter nights, remembering that fateful blizzard. "It wasn't just the warmth we found," Amelia would say, her hand in his. "It was each other." Elijah would nod, pulling her close. "And a world worth fighting for." Back south, the Hawthorne plantation faded into weeds and whispers, a reminder that even the mightiest can fall when secrets unravel. Samuel lived out his days alone, haunted by what he'd lost. But for Elijah and Amelia, life bloomed anew, love conquering the divides of a broken time. In the end, the servants' counted hours had ticked toward freedom, proving that hearts, once ignited, can light the darkest paths.